Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Martin. I'm the Chief Research Officer here at I4CP. I wanted to share with you some thoughts on quality of hire. It's very timely, especially given research we just received from our critical human capital issues research that showed that 2 of the top 5 critical human capital issues for high-performing organizations are actually workforce analytics at number 2 and measuring human capital, which is number 5. We also are seeing with other research we did in the fall of 2012 that talks a lot about how high-performing organizations have been on a very fast move, moving from efficiency metrics to effectiveness and ultimately impact metrics. And when you think about recruiting, or I like to call it more talent acquisition, efficiency measures are time to fill, cost to fill. Those are still good. Those are really table stakes, but we all know, and any chief HR officer would agree, or even more importantly, line manager in this regard would agree, that if it costs a little bit more or took a little longer to fill, if you had a better quality hire, that's all that matters. And so what we're going to talk about today are the benefits of quality of hire, the how-tos of quality of hire, and of course some pitfalls to avoid. So I hope you find this valuable. When it comes to the benefits of quality of hire, there's numerous benefits. What I want to first off talk about is how quality of hire is a tremendous gauge for a company to really understand its source of hire. So when you think of quality of hire, one of the most difficult things we see companies still being able to do is actually be able to find out, well, if we have a rec out, or if we need to hire, let's say, a group of staffers to work in a particular store for seasonal work, or we need to fill this critical role, what are the best sources we should be putting our money into right now? So quality of hire done right allows you to understand the source of your best hires, and that will help you become far more efficient and effective in which sources to utilize, as well as if you're using, for instance, vendors to source contingent labor, to the example I was using earlier, it really helps you understand which vendors provide the better sources of hire as well. So from a source perspective, it provides tremendous advantage. One other thing I wanted to mention too is it also really helps you understand how well your employee engagement is. And you need to think of quality of hire not so much as a pre-hire metric, it certainly is a post-hire metric as well. And all the research that we've been conducting here at I4CP, and I've been a part of for many years, continues to show that the best quality of hires come from employee referrals. So if your quality of hire is high, it ultimately reflects on how well your employee engagement is, because engaged employees are much more likely to be referring friends as well. So there's post-hire implications as well as pre-hire implications, and you need to be aware of that as you're going into measuring quality of hire. Another benefit of it is understanding how effective your managers and supervisors are. So quality of hire certainly puts a lot of onus on your recruiters. But it puts a tremendous amount of onus too, especially if you're looking at measuring first-year retention rate, which we would encourage, or first-year performance review ratings, etc. Now the spotlight starts getting onto the hiring manager. How effective are they with onboarding the employees or the new hires? How effective are they at regular performance management and making sure that those new hires know what's expected of them, and they're routinely, informally following up with them to check on the progress, to make sure they're assimilating well into the business, they understand what's expected of them, and that you're there to help them from a developmental and barrier removal perspective as well. And another strong benefit of it is it helps you gauge the success of screening sources too. So from a quality of hire standpoint, you certainly are going to get a better quality of hire the more effective your overall screening might be. And that screening could be in the form of assessments. So what we find with quality of hire, I already mentioned first-year retention, first-year performance review, but also think about organizational fit. That is a very important piece of quality of hire, as well as hiring manager satisfaction. So if you have a better quality of hire, more than likely you can gauge how well is that assessment working for us. Or if you're not using assessments, there's an effective vehicle right there for you to actually increase your quality of hire as well. So from a measurement of quality of hire, think of first-year retention rate, think of manager satisfaction, think of performance ratings, whether on the project or, of course, on the job itself, and think of manager satisfaction as well. When it comes to pitfalls to avoid, there's a few. So first off, don't try starting by measuring quality of hire against all new hires. We really recommend you start with critical job roles and focus firmly on what those are within a specific business unit. So start small in that regard. And when you're measuring, don't look to benchmark externally. Quality of hire is very much individual to the company, and it's also individual to the job role itself. So you should be looking at internal benchmarks, time comparisons, year over year, so it's longitudinal in that regard. You should also be looking at, by hiring manager. It allows you to actually look and say how you can compare by hiring manager the quality of hire to see who's more effective at being a good manager, let's say, to those new hires. But you should also be looking at it by division. You'll be able to, once you measure quality of hire, compare divisional or business unit performance as well as hiring manager performance against other managers as well. Other pitfalls to avoid, make sure that you're not going at it alone. It's really important that you involve the line manager in this, the hiring manager in this regard, especially when it comes to establishing the measures for quality of hire. And of course, you want to involve that line manager too, because of what I mentioned earlier. Once they're on board, that line manager plays a very important role in the alignment of that employee, in the satisfaction that that employee has in the job. Of course, the line manager needs to be giving you feedback as well to the fit of that individual within that person's team or within the business unit. So, recommendations, where to start. First off, secure appropriate buy-in. It's good to get leadership sign-on with any initiative that you take, but you want to get your hiring manager bought into this as well. And they need to understand this is going to be a longer-term measure. It's not something you're going to be able to turn around in a month and prove to them the return. It's going to take longer. You should be setting expectations around a year. And this is something you want to do routinely over that time frame as well. You want to start with critical roles, so make sure you're looking within your business, especially within workforce planning, of where the company's going in the next 3 to 5 years. What are those critical roles to support those endeavors, and start with a few of those roles within a specific business unit. Make sure that you define and that the hiring manager agrees to the quality of hire measures. That way you're on the same page, and that way you're eliminating the subjective as much as possible. Make sure that from a data perspective that you can get the applicant data from the applicant tracking system you have, and that you can mash that with the data you're collecting either in your HR system or your performance management system if you are looking at including performance as one of the measures. So that data mashup's a really important piece, especially if it gets down, or especially when it comes to finding the source of the quality of that hire as well. Then make sure you have an effective onboarding process. Bringing good quality in is just one aspect of it, but once they're on board, how aligned are they? How aligned with the manager? How much do they know of what's expected of them and when? So make sure onboarding and performance management is a piece of that equation. And then once you get the results, compile those and share them, communicate them. And that's where HR can step up their game across the board, is better communication of its impact on the business that way. At I4CP, for our members, we have a great quality of hire scorecard that's available at our website, and I encourage you all to use that. But I also encourage you to remember this, that when it comes to quality of hire, it's one of the reasons why it's so important for a business to be measuring this is it's the ultimate reflection on your brand perception externally, because the more positive your brand is perceived externally, the more quality people are going to want to be attracted to your company. but it's also reflective of the quality of the brand internally. Again, if you have a great brand that you're reinforcing with your employees, you're going to have a more engaged employee. They're going to be recommending people as well. And to have that engagement, to have those people who want to recommend friends to work there, it requires very solid managers to be working with them. So quality of hire, again, is as much a pre-hire as it is a post-hire measure, and it's completely reflective of your brand consistently positive, both externally and internally. Thank you.